Hey guys, how's it going? So yesterday, Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer's anti-2A task force just called for a whole long list of things. There's about 15 items on this list, including an AWB, raising the purchase age, and so many other things. I have an article here from MLive. I'm going to read that, add some commentary, and let's see what we've got going here. But I'm going to give you a quick teaser. This is literally insane. So this is the governor of Michigan, and this is what she looks like. And just even having a task force, let alone a report like this that I unfortunately have to convey to you, this is what it looks like living under a tyrannical government. So if you guys remember back, there was an incident that happened in Michigan State in 2023. We've covered it on this channel extensively, and a lot of you remember those videos. And if you're new here, by the way, welcome. It's good to have you here. And I encourage everybody to check all the links down there in the description for the ways you can help support the channel, because there's no ad read here at all. You guys are all my sponsors. Well, they came back right after that and took it out on the Second Amendment, because that's what these people always do, passing a slew of gun control laws. And mixed in with all that was the governor created a task force to create a list of recommendations that would have heavy influence on the Michigan House and Senate. It's come out with its report. Here we are. So I'm reading this article, and I'm going to pause here and there to give my input, because you all can read the article on your own, but we're going to give you a little more information here on this channel. From raising the age to purchase firearms to banning, quote, assault weapons, there's that word again, whatever that means. It means whatever they want it to mean, obviously. A state-led task force has issued a host of recommendations it says will reduce gun violence and save lives in Michigan. It is unclear whether the state legislature will take up and pass these recommendations unveiled Monday, November 24th by the Michigan Gun Violence Prevention Task Force in its final report. Some of the recommendations are likely to face stiff resistance in the Republican-controlled House, which has declined to take up the bump stocks and ghost guns, the bans on bump stocks and ghost guns passed by the Senate and now recommended by the task force. Keep in mind, we have a split legislature in Michigan right now. The Senate is controlled by Democrats. The House is controlled by Republicans. Yeah, the Republicans have yet to repeal red flag laws or do anything that actual Second Amendment advocates want them to do, because they say, well, it doesn't matter, it won't pass because the Senate's Democrat. However, the Senate has passed a slew of gun control bills this year, showing that they actually do mean business, and yeah, they want to ban a whole bunch of things, as we'll get to in just a minute here. House Speaker Matt Hall, Republican of Richland Township, hasn't yet reviewed the recommendations as of Monday morning and could not comment. Well, I hope the Speaker of the House is going to be against all of this, and you all need to encourage him to do so. I would note, though, during that last session when all the gun control passed, then House Minority Leader, now he's the Speaker, Matt Hall, did vote for gun control. So we do have a gun control voting Republican Speaker of the House. I hope this stuff faces the stiff opposition that the author is forecasting. I can't be so sure. So you all need to be getting a hold of your representatives. And if they say they're pro 2A, make sure they understand that you hold them strictly to their promise. Senate Majority Leader Winnie Brinks, the Democrat from Grand Rapids, and Senate Democrats are devoted to combating gun violence as long as it continues to plague communities around the state. Quote, I am glad to see that the task force's report builds on some of the major policies we've already enacted, like safe storage, universal background checks, Banks said. This year, the Senate passed bans on bump stocks and ghost guns, and I urge the House to take these up in short order. See, the Democrats have passed gun control in the past, and they're still trying to pass more. I look forward to learning more about the task force's research and working in tandem to keep our neighborhoods safe, end quote. The Michigan Gun Violence Prevention Task Force was created in June 2024 by order of Governor Gretchen Whitmer. It followed new gun safety and control laws enacted earlier that year in the wake of the, quote, mass shootings at Michigan State University that killed 3 students and injured 5 others. The Republicans are in control of the House. They just passed a budget. I'm curious how this task force is still getting funded, if it is. Hopefully it's not getting funded anymore. We'll have to check on that. The legislative package brought about universal background checks on gun purchases, firearm restrictions for people convicted of domestic violence, secure gun storage requirements. That's the one Matt Hall and like 5 other Republican House members voted for. Just keep that in mind. And, quote, red flag orders. Extreme risk protection orders created by red flag laws allow Michiganders to seek temporary court-ordered removal of firearms from at-risk individuals. Now, these are the things that are already law. Again, we've been covering this on this channel for years now. Whitmer noted Monday that the report comes as the state nears the 4-year anniversary of the incident at Oxford High School. So they just keep bringing all this up, still dancing on the graves of children. And that's their propaganda. These are emotional people, and apparently it's working, actually, because so far they are getting their way with more gun control. Quote, while we've made significant progress since then, gun violence remains an epidemic, with over 11,000 preventable deaths and injuries just this year, Whitmer said. I want to analyze that real quick. 2 key things here. They said, but if we only pass all this other gun control that they recently passed, it'd make everything safer. Well, guess what? She says, we've made progress, but that's not enough. See, it's never, ever enough for these people. They're literally not going to stop till they ban all your guns. And hopefully you remind all your normie friends of that, because gun owners in this state and Second Amendment supporters, now not you, you're watching this, but trust me, most of them just don't get it, like at all. Also, they're using the word epidemic. They're bringing health into this. We've seen MDHHS governing over gun control. This is draconian stuff. This is tyrannical stuff. And we're going to get to that in a little bit. But just keep in mind these little words that she's using. Gun violence remains an epidemic. I'll continue her quote. We all want to keep Michiganders safe. These recommendations will help us do exactly that. Together, let's keep getting it done and save lives. But here's the thing that this task force isn't going to mention, and none of these people ever want to talk about. The millions of times each year that a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. And the fact that there's many times more good lives that are saved with guns every year than bad people taking lives, using a gun or many, many other instruments of choice, actually. But they don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk all the good people. They don't want to mention the good people just like you that are protecting yourself and your family and your hometown. But I'm going to mention it, even though I guarantee you we won't find that anywhere in here. Okay, so who's leading this task force? The task force is led by Dr. Natasha Bagdasarian, Michigan's chief medical executive, and includes academic researchers, prosecutors, law enforcement, tribal representatives, education, community, and business leaders, mental health professionals, and officials from state departments. In my opinion, there's actually nobody that's 2A on this task force at all. In fact, a buddy of mine named Avi applied to be on it, and he was not selected. He was not chosen. So I know for a fact, in my opinion, we're not going to get both sides of the story here. But we are going to get the tribal representatives and law enforcement, prosecutors, academics, in other words, the educational industrial complex, health professionals. Let's see what the good doctor has planned for us here. The good doctor. I can't even pronounce these people's last name that are running our country and our state anymore. It's getting to be ridiculous. In its report, the task force noted that some of the recommendations may be challenging to implement. Yeah, it's supposed to be challenging to violate the Second Amendment, because it's supposed to be the supreme law of the land, actually. Quote, with lives on the line, incremental change is not enough. Ooh, so they're wanting to speed things up, it sounds like. We must act with urgency and conviction to adopt policy solutions that will save lives and create a safer future for all Michiganders, end quote. Task force members wrote in the report. So there you go. They've been chipping away, death by 1,000 paper cuts, and now they're saying that time's over. It's time for urgency. Let's just enact gun control right now, and let's enact a crap load of it, which we're about ready to get to. Here's a look at the recommendations which were developed over the past year with input from a wide range of advocates. That's an interesting way to word it. Advocate. So you have a governor and a bunch of people that are associated with the state, and they're advocating to get rid of your natural God-given rights that are protected by the Second Amendment in the U.S. Constitution and also in the Michigan Constitution, Article 1, Section 6. Every person has the right to keep and bear arms in defense of himself and the state. But here we are. Here's the first one. Requiring waiting periods on all firearm purchases. The task force does not give a recommended amount of time, but Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, MDHHS officials say this, quote, cooling off period can prevent impulsive acts of gun violence and give more time for background checks. Dude, I remember when they were putting in all these NICS checks and the Brady bill and all this back in the 90s. They said if we can just get universal background checks, it's going to stop all this. Now we've had background checks for all this time, and now they're saying, no, we need more time for background checks. They're already requiring background checks for purchases of guns. Just face-to-face transfers, letting somebody borrow a gun for non-CPA holders already. We've added in a version of universal background checks in Michigan. In other words, but that's still not enough. Increase the age of firearm purchase to 21. Residents 18 and older can currently purchase a handgun from a private seller. And long guns from a private seller or licensed dealer. However, customers must be 21 or older to purchase a handgun from a licensed dealer. So they want to make it where you have to be 21 to be able to purchase a firearm, but still 18 to vote? So are you an adult or you're not an adult? Next one. Close the concealed pistol license loophole. Wow, this is getting rich. Currently, residents can purchase a firearm without a background check or permit through a CPL loophole, MDHHS officials say. Now, look, this is just disingenuous in my opinion. This is crazy. CPL holders, that's the concealed pistol license, in case you didn't know. You have to go through rigorous background checks. FBI fingerprints, passport-style photo. Yeah, they've already gone through background checks. Rigorous background checks that are even more in-depth than the NICS check. So, not a loophole, but they love using these words, don't they? Banning ghost guns. Ooh, spooky. Ghost guns are untraceable firearms that don't have serial numbers. Yeah, it's called your natural right to keep and bear arms, which of course includes, making your own and not wanting to tell the government about it. Prohibit the possession of large capacity magazines. Wow. The task force did not define large capacity magazines. Well, look, when they don't define, that means they want it to sweep up whatever they want. It's actually scarier when they don't define, trust me. I know how these people think. A defunct federal ban previously defined large capacity magazines as ones that could hold more than 10 rounds of ammunition. But some states have put the limit at more than 15 or 20 rounds. Next one. Prohibit the sale, possession, manufacture, or transfer of so-called assault weapons. The task force had not defined what constitutes an assault weapon. So we're back to this again. Usually, however, these bans target semi-automatic rifles. There you go. They're going after your semi-automatic rifle. That's really all you need to hear. But just for the LOLs in the comment section, we're going to go through some of the evil features. Like, the shoulder thing that goes up. And well, let's see what they say here. Have features like a pistol grip, a barrel shroud, a grip for the non-trigger hand, and can accept a detachable magazine. Sounds like a lot of guns you probably own, doesn't it? Ban automatic conversion devices. Glock must have been on here, actually, because Glock's the ones that were just calling for another state legislature to ban conversion devices. So, hey, maybe. I'll have to look closer. Maybe they had Glock sitting on this advisory board. These are devices that convert semi-automatic firearms into fully automatic guns and are generally already illegal under state and federal law. However, one attachment called a bump stock remains legal and allows semi-automatic rifles to fire at a rate similar to a machine gun. And look, here's the problem. All this stuff gets swept up when they pass these kind of bans. All different types of triggers, FRT, binary, it's all on the line, trust me. Because the actual bump stock ban that has passed the Michigan Senate, the way it's defined, it doesn't fit bump stocks, but it probably fits a whole bunch of other things. So, really, really slippery slope here, and this is not to be taken lightly. All right, I've still got about 8 more. Prohibit carrying guns in government buildings. Strengthen existing school safety legislation. Standardize training for school resource officers and promote a single school safety tip hotline statewide, which we did have in this state till very recently when the Michigan House Republicans did defund that. So shout out to them for that. That's no longer funded. But as of very recently, we had a tip hotline to encourage students to rat out their parents, tell the people at the school what's going on within the home. This is literally insane, and I told you this is what a tyrannical government looks like, didn't I? Let me know what you all think down in the comments. Support, whatever this means, community violence intervention efforts. But look, these kind of people that want this stuff are always the ones that are like, oh, someone commits a violent crime, they're back on the streets within hours, sometimes even minutes. But they keep on demonizing the gun. They want to demonize the gun. And here's the thing. Let's just get the obvious out of the way. These laws all would only affect the law-abiding, because criminals, by their very nature, do not follow laws. Educate the public, so here's more government indoctrination, on secure firearm storage and expand access to free gun locking devices. Look, we've had a lot of Michigan Republicans supporting this in the House, including now Speaker Hall. I hope he's changed his mind. Hopefully he'll rebuke all this stuff. We'll just have to see, won't we? Michigan's safe storage law went into effect February 2024. It requires guns to be kept in an enclosed, locked container that minors do not have a key or combination to open. Next one. Oh boy. Create clear guidelines for firearm relinquishment. How many of you are looking to relinquish? No, they're seriously talking about relinquishment of your firearms. Let me know. Who's ready to give up their guns right now? Today, tomorrow? Maybe give me another week. I might give it up. Someone's thinking out there. I hope you're not thinking that. Guys, don't give up your guns. This will create a process for individuals prohibited from owning firearms to turn those guns into law enforcement agencies. Prohibited from what, though? This is the kind of thing that's on his face. Sounds great. Well, they're a prohibited person. Just remember, when guns are outlawed, only outlaws alone guns. There's a whole myriad of things that they want to make illegal here. The, quote, law-abiding citizen could become a criminal literally overnight. If they pass any one of these, not to mention the ones they've already passed, think about it for a minute. Just set up those provisions right there for when they start outlawing everything. Everyone can just turn them all in. Like Dianne Feinstein said, Mr. or Mrs. America, turn them all in. If she would have had the votes. Remove barriers for filing extreme risk protection orders and personal protection orders and improve enforcement of orders. So they want to make it even easier to red flag somebody. Red flag laws already means no due process at all. And they want even less of a standard than that? Well, that's the way I'm reading it. Strengthen victim support services to address the harm of domestic violence. Look, I don't like violence. I need to know more about this. There might be something good to that if somebody's, been a victim of actual violence. But coming from a commission like this, I'm leery of everything these people write. But that one might be okay. I'd have to read more into it. All right, here's the conclusion. And oh boy, this is the conclusion. Firearms are now the leading cause of death among children and teens in the United States, surpassing motor vehicle accidents, drowning, and childhood cancers, which underscores the urgent need for action, Bagdasarian said. Now, hold on a minute. Remember Mark Twain? There's lies, there's damn lies, and then there's statistics. Dude, they've been peddling this for a while now. Firearms are the leading cause of death among children and teens. Yeah, when they're citing those studies, which Bagdasarian did not cite here, look at what age they're talking about as a child. Is this a 24-year-old child? Okay. Are these 18, 19-year-old teenagers? Gangbangers? People in the inner city? Is this a small percentage of our population that commits a large percentage, in fact, the majority of our violent crimes? Is that who these people are? Why don't they tell us who they are? Why don't they tell us what ages they're going by here? No, they won't do that. They just give you this, in my opinion, extremely misleading stat. Firearms are now the leading cause of death. Here's another quote from the doctor. Just think about this. There's this doctor here that's trying to take away your Second Amendment protected rights in Michigan. That's where we're at right now. That's what we've de-evolved into. This roadmap reflects the collective expertise and lived experiences of our task force. Yeah, she's literally saying lived experiences. If you didn't believe me before, the type of political bias and slant from these people, if you didn't already know, the roadmap reflects the collective expertise and lived experiences of our task force and offers a clear, evidence-based path forward to protect Michigan families and save lives. And this is the top doctor, I believe, is what her title would be in Michigan. This is literally insane. Let me know what you think down there in the comments. Make sure you share this with all your friends. And I'll be back to talk to you all again soon. All right. Thanks for watching. And have a good one.